help you make a decision? Maybe. Okay, what if I gave you 17 witnesses, 10 of which are priests, 7 of which are nuns, 2 of which are high school students who've never made a lie in their lives? I have all that evidence together. Are you convinced now? Are you convinced? Okay, a person who tells me after all of that evidence that they're not convinced is telling me that they don't want to be convinced. They don't want to have anything to do with this. So be fair. If there's evidence out there that points in that direction, be fair. If you're going to try to come up with excuses as to maybe, either way, I'm not talking aim for God. No, I don't need that. He doesn't need that. God knows that if the evidence is laid out before you, and you looking at it fairly and objectively, you're going to say there's no question. There's no question. What if for everything? There's no question. So just use the normal ways that you evaluate anything else. That's all I'm asking. Don't give it special treatment, but don't also give it, less fair treatment. Everybody agree? Is that fair? Is what I'm saying fair? Because let me tell you something right now. When I'm picking a jury in court, and I see a juror who I know hates cops, and I know a cop is going to testify because he went and he arrested the guy. No matter what I say, she hates cops. I tell her, can you be fair? Well, 3 months ago, a cop, beat up my boyfriend. Am I picking her on my jury? Would you? I don't care what evidence I have. She ain't going my way. Fair? So just be fair. Everybody agree? So that's all I'm asking, just be fair. Okay? So, let's start. What I want to do today is touch up a little bit on what we discussed last week. Because, again, I felt like it was iffy. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we discussed last week, and then I'm going to move on to additional arguments, okay? And remember, everything I say here in favor of God, I will bring you everything an atheist will argue. Not just any atheist. I'm talking about scientific guys who are well-versed in the studies of early and recent science right now, okay? Because I'm trying to read as many books as I can to get the most updated scientific analyses. And you can ask a couple of people here who have called me during the week and have gone back and forth with them because I'm searching for evidence one way or the other. I want evidence. If it's something that disproves it, I want to see it. If there's something that proves it, I want to see it. So what I have before you is stuff that goes both ways, but I'm confident that after you review all of the evidence before you, you're going to reach one conclusion hands down. There's no question. You'll see. Everybody with me? Yeah. Okay, good. So let's start. Proof that God exists. I want to start with a couple of terms. And again, this is also not only designed to help us learn, but when we're having a conversation with another atheist, I feel like such a retard with this thing. If we're having a conversation with like an atheist or someone who doesn't know, they might throw out terms to us that we should know. We should know these terms, okay? So for example, this term called natural selection. Natural selection is a term used to describe that there's some sort of organism that's alive, and through numerous, successive, slight modifications, this is a term that Mr. Charles Darwin, a big-time atheist, used to understand this stuff. Numerous, successive, slight modifications. Numerous, successive, slight modifications. Say with me. Numerous, successive, slight modifications. What does that mean? That means little by little, one animal, stopped using his arm or something, so the arm fell off, okay? Or used it a lot, so it became stronger. It became bigger, okay? A beak was small, the beak became bigger through evolution. Do we believe that this happens?
Yes.
Say again, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah! Yes! Yes! We believe in what's called microevolution. I'm going to show you a couple of Bible verses that show that. We believe in microevolution. Don't be afraid of that term. It's in the Bible. In Genesis chapter 1, God talks about that. And I'm going to show that to you. Okay? So don't be afraid when you see that. But most people get that confused with this. Something called macroevolution. And I discussed this a little bit last week, but try to stay focused with me. Common ancestry. What does that mean? What's the difference between this and this? Can someone tell me? Common ancestry. Go ahead, Kevin.
Guess I'll turn this on.
Common ancestry means that all creatures living today came from a single organism or a single cell.
That's absolutely right. I'll get to you in a second. Anybody else? Sorry. Take your time. Take it off. Thank you so much. Don't even worry about it. Why was it not working? All right, so we can still use it. All right, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right. Common ancestry, macroevolution. As Kevin just told us, it's all living creatures are modified descendants of a common ancestor, okay? So us human beings came from where? The same initial organism of what? A fruit fly. Whatever's alive, we all came from that. If you're an elephant, if you're a human, if you're a mouse, if you're a giraffe, if you're a fruit fly, if you're an amoeba, if it was a living organ, everything came from this once really, really teeny, itsy, bitsy, weeny, teeny, beeny, weeny little organism. That is what he believed in. Mr. Darwin believed in common ancestry. People call this evolution. Everybody understand the terms. Don't be fooled. So when someone says, I believe in evolution, what's the first question you should ask them? Which type of evolution you believe in? Micro or macro? Because I believe in micro. What do you believe in? Macro? You believe that you came from a fruit fly? Well, we're going to talk about that. Is there evidence in favor of that? Is there evidence out there that says everybody came from the same thing? Definitely, there's no way there's a creator. Everyone came from a common ancestor. Any evidence of that? The answer is no. Because whatever arguments are made that say everyone came from a common ancestor, that does not knock out intelligent design, which we're going to get into. It doesn't exclude it. And I'm going to give you an example right now. We have 15 different Toyota Camrys out there. 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, okay? Each one comes, and each time it's slight modification. And it's very funny is that when evolutionists argue with creationists and debate, they say, let's use a Toyota Camry, for example. Let's use this vehicle, for example. Let's use an airplane, for an example. What's the problem with that in giving that example? Number one, it was designed. You're proving my point. You're proving that just because two things are made of the same thing doesn't necessarily mean what? That it's evolutionary. Macroevolution. Just understand the concepts. Everybody got that? So we want to be able to educate people as well. Not only are we learning, but we want to educate. Okay? So these are the two terms. Next, let's talk about the problems with common ancestry. Number one, there's something called the Cambrian explosion. Does anybody know what the Cambrian explosion is? Cambrian explosion was during the time about 540, to be exact, million years ago. Okay? 540 million years ago. I can't even count up to 540 million. 540 million years ago was the Cambrian era, a time period called the Cambrian era. And during this time, there was a huge gap in the fossil record. So scientists were very excited at first. They said, look, we're going to prove to you common ancestry through the fossil record. We're going to show you that, look, through time, every single couple of hundred of thousands of years, things started to change in shape. And see, look, we started off with something small, we ended up with human beings and all different types of animals. But what they didn't realize is that there's a big, huge gap. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you go from like sponges, okay, to things with vertebrae, in one shot, explosion. It's too big for them to say, oh, there was stuff, maybe we couldn't find stuff. They know this is the problem. They concede that the Cambrian explosion cannot be explained. That's important. So when someone brings up common ancestry, your response is, what about the Cambrian explosion? Right, the Cambrian era, exactly. That's where the Cambrian explosion came from. That's right. Everybody got that? So first, what type of evolution? Second, what? Okay. Let's talk also about common ancestry for a second. Reptiles and birds. This is the example that everybody likes to use. A reptile turned into a bird. So like a frog or like a lizard turned into a bird. Okay, that's what they want to establish. Somebody tell me and explain to me why there is absolutely no fossil evidence of like a half bird. Why isn't there? I mean, if through time they transitioned, right? That's what common ancestry says. Common ancestry says through time it transitioned. What? None of them died while they were like this? They died either when they were a reptile fully blown or what? Guys, listen, this is stuff that we overlook. We might know about this, but we don't know how to argue it. That's how you argue. That's how you explain it. Because that's the truth. And this isn't just based on one book or one study. This is based on hundreds of people who admit this stuff. Okay? So it's important to know this. Everybody understand? So micro versus macro, then we get into what? Cambrian, then we get into what? Transitional, yes? Okay, good. Remember how he said the Bible speaks of natural selection? In Genesis chapter 1, verse 24, and if you think I'm using a secret different Bible, look in your own. It says, "Then God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature according to its kind." According to what? Its kind. Let the earth bring forth living creature. Consistent with evolution? Is it? Because later on, I thought I was slick, hold on. Later on, in 126, he says, let us make what? Man in our image. So at one point it's let the earth, evolution. At another point it's what? Let us. When he's speaking about who? Man. Man being made in the image of God. And that's why there's a huge difference maybe between a human and an animal. Humans can speak. Animals cannot. Humans can think and have feelings and expressions and emotions and creativity and artistic. Animals don't. Interesting, huh? Let us make man in our image. God, I believe, is an intelligent designer, and humans can be what? Intelligent designers, because we were made in his image. I've never seen an animal who was an intelligent designer. Maybe you have, I don't know. Maybe your dog can do something, I don't know. Okay? So, in order for natural selection to occur, there must be something to start with, and that's the point we're trying to make. Don't let an atheist tell you, kaboosh, something came out of nothing. When we discussed this last week, what was the name of that argument? What was the name of that argument? It's up there. The cosmological argument. Guys, we got to remember this stuff. I'm glad I'm going over this stuff, because most people don't remember this, and that annoys me. We got to remember this stuff. This is stuff that we have to use and argue with. Cosmological argument said what? Come on. Everything that has a beginning has a? Okay, and then the universe has a? Therefore, the universe has a? Everybody got that from last week? Very important stuff. This shows that you can't just start with something. It had to be something causing something. You can't have nothing causing something. Remember the example I gave last week when I said everybody close your eyes and I banged on the table? And I said, everybody open your eyes. Where did that bang come from? People said, you banged something. No one said it just came out of nowhere, because it doesn't make sense. Something must come out of something, right? You can't have nothing causing something, right? We made that argument, right? Okay, so common ancestry doesn't fly. If you start with a, and then from there things develop, and that admittedly is a super intelligent being, then natural selection makes sense. Because after that, let the earth, that's fine. Everybody with me? Everybody see that? Okay? And then we have the design argument. Okay? So we said this, the universe had a beginning, therefore the universe had a cause. Okay? And then, of course, the atheist response is what? Then who caused God to exist? But what was our response to that last week? Correct. God, by definition, does not have a what? A beginning. The rule is that everything that has a what? Beginning has a cause. God does not have a beginning. Therefore, God was not what? Caused. He is. He always was. He always is. That's the definition of God. You get it? Okay? So, response, we just said that. Okay. Now, we went through the teleological argument, and this is where we're going to continue today from where we left off last week. Okay? Every design has a, the universe has a, therefore the universe has a, clear? Okay, every design has a designer. Okay, that shirt, very pretty. Someone designed that. Right? That purse, awesome. You're well dressed today. Very good. Okay? Everything. Everything that has a design has a, this block that I'm standing on has a design. Has a designer. Your shirt, this wall, this building, this computer, this wire, this everything. Everything that has a design has a, okay, so let's continue. Remember we talked about the anthropic constants last week. This is just a quick review. What's the anthropic constant? Somebody tell me what the anthropic constant is. Somebody, please. Anthropic constants. There was 122 in all. John in the back, I think, asked the question, how many, what's the ratio of this happening? Blah, blah, blah. Does anybody know what the anthropic constant? I'm going to hide under this table. I was sweating last week. My boxers were wet when I got it. It was disgusting, okay? I did all of that, and people are sitting here like, what's the anthropic constant? Somebody please, not Kevin, no. Kevin taught me the anthropic constant, yes. Not John, you the raise your hand about it. Somebody, yes, Fede.
Specific circumstances in which man must live in or must.
Oh, you're close. You're close. Someone, yes. Perfect. He wasn't even here last week. Can you say it again? You just said it. It's perfect. Okay, it's specific conditions that the universe must be in for us to exist. Okay, there are certain conditions that the universe is in. Had it not been in these conditions, man would not be able to live. You understand? Okay, like the way the gravitation is, the way how far away the earth is from the sun and the moon, all that stuff is so perfect. So perfect. Our universe is so perfect that man can live on it. If it was not this perfect, man cannot live on it. Everybody understand that? Okay? So, there's 122 in all. Okay? Then we went into irreducibly complex organisms. We're going to talk about that again quickly, and then we're going to go into DNA. Okay? What was the atheist position again on the whole 122 constants, saying, oh, yeah, whatever. What's an atheist position on that? Go ahead. Very good. Maybe there's billions and billions of universes, okay, that we just happen to be on the universe that has life because we can live here. There's got to be billions of universes. Universes are popping up left and right, blah, 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 and then one universe came and here we are, we exist. Right? Good argument? Really bad argument. Okay? Why is that a really bad argument? Well, let's go through the arguments first. Hold on. Okay? Someone last week said, you know what? Maybe life on Earth adapted to survive in this universe with these constants through natural selection. So, oh, so many constants. At the time I died, but my son didn't. He lived and he fixed himself, and then all of a sudden everybody, okay, now everyone, oh look, constants, we're here. That's what someone said. And I remember he gave me a look like, duh, right? Okay? And I was like, oh, he's going to come up with a good one. He's going to come up with a good one. Okay? And the third one, all of this happened by chance, and that's why life on Earth is possible. Yani just by random chance, everything fits perfectly, and that's why life on Earth is possible. Yeah, go ahead. Try to speak quick, because I got a lot. I'm gonna get to that right now. Let's go to our response, okay? Number one, there's no evidence at all that any other universe exists, okay? You know the five-legged man? Okay, if I say everyone here is two-legged, there's no man that's five-legged, that answer is like someone coming to me saying what? Well, how do you know there isn't a five-legged man? Because there's no scientific evidence or any evidence to prove that. I can make up whatever I want. Everybody understand that? Yes? Deductive reasoning. Remember that, okay? The second argument was what? Well, maybe we adapted to what? To the universe. Maybe we just adapted to it. But without these constants, there would be no universe for us to, this is what allows a universe to exist, those constants. Does everybody understand that argument? Does everybody get that? It's important. Try to understand that. We can't adapt if we can't even be alive. These constants allows life. It doesn't allow life that has to change. Does everybody get that point? Okay. And the third one, by chance, there's 122 constants in all. So the chance of this happening randomly to a planet or in a universe is 1 in 10 to the 138th power. Okay, I don't even know that math. But does everybody get it? Okay, let's go. So now we're going to talk about the sign. We're going to just move on. Just write down your question. Okay, so when this concept of common ancestry came about, okay, just so you guys know, Charles Darwin had no idea what was inside of a cell. The cell, the trillions of cells that we have in our body, Darwin didn't know what was inside the cell. So when he said everything came together, slight modification, and then boom, he didn't know what was inside the cell. The cell was what we call a black box. It was a black box to him. A black box is like something that you don't know what's in it. We covered this last week. But I can tell right now that we so needed to do this again because 99% of us don't remember what happened last week. So it's more important to me that we actually learn what I talk about rather than moving on, hearing 50 things and only learning 2. Okay? I'd rather learn 15 well than learn 50, 2 of them. No. So stay focused, please, so we get it this time. Okay, this is his statement. If it could be demonstrated that any complex organ existed which could not possibly have been formed by what? My theory would absolutely... He said, if somebody can prove to me that there's something that exists right now that couldn't have got to this point through slight modifications, then my theory breaks down. Because I, as Darwin, believe that in order for this to get here, there must have been slight modifications for it to get there. So it started out as nothing and then turned into this what? This complex organism. So he's saying, if you can prove to me that this complex organism couldn't be broken down and function, then I've been disproven. Remember, he didn't know about the cell. Yes? Okay. Just to give you an example. Understand, this is what an irreducibly complex organism is. Number of different components all work together to accomplish the task of a system. And if you were to remove one of the components, the system would what? No longer function. Example. What's that? Okay, nasty, right? I was going to buy one, and I was like, ugh. Okay, this is a mousetrap. Look at the different parts. You have a platform. You have a little catchy thingy over here. Okay, I'm like afraid to touch it on the thing. You have a spring. You have a hammer. You have a hold-down bar. Okay, so when a little mousey gets on a thing, and it dies, right? Goes for the cheese. Okay. If you don't have this platform, can you have a mousetrap? If I don't have this hold-down bar, will it work? No, it needs to hold down so that it can, right? Okay. If I don't have like this little piece of cheese, would it work? No, because maybe. All right, bad example. Okay. If I don't have this spring, I mean, he's an idiot if he does that. If I don't have this spring right here, can it work? No, it doesn't work because if he gets on there and then the spring doesn't do anything and he's going to hang it, he's going to eat the cheese and leave. Okay. So this is an example of an irreducibly what? What? Organism. An irreducibly complex organism. Memorize that phrase. An irreducibly complex organism. I had a conversation with an atheist, okay, and I threw this term at her, and she turned around, she started running for her life. People get scared when they hear terms like this. We don't want to scare them, we want to educate them. But when they see you know what you're talking about, they're going to want to hear more. Teach me. Okay? What's it called? A what? What are the two different types of evolution? Which one do we believe in? Which one don't we believe in? Why not? I'm just kidding. I'm not going to get into it. All right. The mousetrap. Remove one part and what happens? Okay, does it work halfway if you remove one part? It either works or what? Or it does not work. Everybody understand this concept? Okay. So, look at what you need. The right part, in the right size, in the right place, at the same time. Yes? Okay. Now let's talk about this massive thing called a cell. Okay? I'm no doctor, so I'm not even going to try to explain what this is. Okay? But look, lysosomes, mitochondrions, okay? Cell membranes, a couple of ribosomes. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. You doctors out there, take a lookie. Everyone here is like in med school or pharmacist. So everyone here has seen this before. Weirdos. The cell. Okay, let's talk about the cell. The cell, life is based on molecular machines. Sorry. Okay? Some examples of what the cell does. Hauls cargo from one place in the cell to the next. Turns cellular switches on and off. Acts as pulleys and cables. It's got its own mind. Keep going. Just keep going. Okay? Electrical machines let current flow through the nerves. I don't even know what I'm saying. This is what it does. Manufacturing machines builds other machines. I don't know what the heck they're talking about. Each part has a room of its own. Whoever here is a doctor or who's studying this stuff, okay, this is mind-blowing stuff. That the only thing I as a person can relate this to is to a design. That's something formed, okay? And we're going to get into the arguments of evolution and how maybe little itsy-bitsy, okay? We're going to talk about all that. Because it's actually interesting theory. But at the end of the day, it dies. It falls. It fails. It fails. Until this point in science, they cannot prove that evolution is the source of this cell. They can't. They come up with very good theories. Some people here may even disagree with me. Challenge me. Challenge me. I love to learn. I love to learn. Teach me. Teach me. Okay? Because I know at the end of the day, he's the man. I know that. Okay? So let's keep going. Let's talk about this example called the flagellum. Bacterial flagellum. Amir, and if he's listening, Amir, on streaming, I hope you hear me. Amir and I went into a huge battle about this flagellum. Because I mentioned the flagellum and he started shaking his head and I said, uh-oh. Amir, the future doctor, is saying no. And then he tried to relate to me. He goes, Bishoy, there was a case in court about this, where a school district was trying to teach, not evolution, but trying to teach about creation as an alternative to evolution. And what they were saying in this case is that irreducible complexity is an example of how evolution can't be true. Why? Because evolution is what? Slight, successive, numerous modifications. And this irreducible complex organism can't be created by slight, numerous modifications, right? So therefore, it can't work. So this case went all the way to court because some mom said, I don't want my kid learning about no design. Teach him evolution. So they called these two huge experts, one on each side. Ken Miller, who's for evolution, and this guy by the name of Michael Behe, who's the man. And Michael Behe testified and tried to prove evolution. Tried to prove intelligent design through this flagellum. This other guy, Ken Miller, who's Mr. Evolution, said, no. I'll prove to you that this complex organism can exist in a smaller form without some of those pieces. I'll show you that this thing that you say has to be all the parts there together to work, was working at one point without those parts. Does everybody get that? Because once you do that, what happens? The whole idea of irreducible complexity, what? Fails. Yes? If I can prove that you can have this part functioning without this part, then there goes irreducible complexity. It's irreducible. Everybody with me? Okay. So, let's talk about the flagellum. Composed of 35 proteins. The whip acts like a propeller. Okay? Question was, how does it know where to go? Spins at 10,000 revolutions per minute. It's like a boat with an outer motor. You've seen the boats, and we talked about this last week. Imagine having a motorboat that doesn't have a driver. This thing knows where to go. Okay? Let's keep going. This is the Dover case. Okay? So this scientist got on the stand and he said, listen, I found another organism that has almost all the same proteins as this bacterium flagellum. Almost all the same proteins. Okay? Therefore, it must not be irreducibly complex. And the judge was like, thank God. Well, I don't believe he exists. So, thank evolution. I don't believe this happened. Therefore, Ken Miller, you're right. Okay? Later studies showed that this other organism, okay, there's absolutely no evidence that shows that this organism became this organism. In other words, there was actually some evidence to show that this smaller one came out of the more complex one. Does everybody get that? It's tough, I know. We could talk about it later. But just understand the concept that it was disproven. Okay? So there is still evidence of irreducibly complex organisms. Okay? Again, they can't say for sure which came first, the flagellum or the other organism. Okay? Now, atheist position. I believe in evolution. Things could come together through time by natural selection. What do you say? Huh? What do you say? Which one? You're asking which one, right? Okay, each part may have existed alone first with a legitimate purpose. This is an argument for irreducibly complex organisms. Okay? Okay, you have this mousetrap that you're using as an example, this cell that you're using as an example, it's irreducibly complex. You're saying all of these parts need to be here. You need this piece and that piece and you need all that together for it to work? Okay, well guess what? What if each part existed alone by itself and then it came together? Someone might say. Right? Then it's not irreducibly complex. Then there's no need for intelligent design. There's no need for intelligent design if each part existed separately and then came together and created this, what you call irreducibly complex organism. Everybody understand that argument that atheists might make? Okay? Keep going. Maybe by random chance and time, things came together to form this cell. Everybody understand that argument? Next. The teleological argument, and we kind of touched on this last week. If God designed us, and He's an intelligent designer, then why aren't we perfectly designed? How about the last one? Science will prove this in the future. I love that one. Okay, God will prove it in the future too. Okay? All right. So what type of evolution do you believe in, micro or macro? That's our response, yes? Okay. Remember, Cambrian explosion that we discussed. Remember, transitional stages that we spoke about, yes? Okay. Micro, that's consistent with the Bible, right? Okay. By the way, for those of you who think that Charles Darwin was the first one who came up with this theory of evolution, you're highly mistaken, because we have Orthodox fathers in our church that from 300 AD were arguing against what? Evolution and macroevolution. So Darwin was a good reader, for sure, and a very intelligent guy. But he actually was responding to stuff that was from 300 AD. And our fathers wrote about this stuff, okay? Just so you know, okay? And remember, micro or macro, microevolution still requires someone to create the what? Because if you have micro, something came from something. Where did that initial something come from? Yes? Does everybody understand how the arguments should be running in their minds? Everybody understand that? Okay? Everybody get it? Okay, good. Now, each part may have existed alone first. Each part may have existed alone first. Maybe this cell that exists right now, each part existed by itself first and then it came together. Okay, and we discussed this again a little bit last week. Okay? Ask yourselves, how could they have existed alone if all the parts are needed to exist together for it to function? Ask this question. How could they have existed alone? What purpose does it have if it exists alone if it doesn't have a function? The only way it can function is if it exists as part of the entire mousetrap. Yes? So that's the question that you ask. How could it exist alone? Okay? And even if each part existed alone, how do they happen to be the right shape necessary to function? They just happen to be the right shape and size? They just happen to be the right shape on the mousetrap and the right size and this and that, and everything just happened to be separately its own shape and size, and then all of a sudden it came together. Common sense. Does that really make sense? I mean, listen, maybe some of you think, yeah, maybe that's true. But isn't it more sense that there was a designer who made it the right shape and the right size to fit together? The way we designed this table? Right? That's common sense, right? Okay. Through time, the cell came together randomly, some people may say. Okay? Again, isn't it more consistent with intelligence than with chance? Okay? After time, things actually get disordered, not ordered. How does it make sense that something comes together billions of years later? Doesn't it make more sense that things actually break apart? Let me give you an example. You're standing on the roof of your house and you have red, white, and blue confetti. So you take the confetti and you throw it off your house because you want to try to make the shape of a flag on the ground. Just to give you like some middle of an analogy. Okay? Will it happen, by the way? Okay. What evolutionists are saying, okay, go up to an airplane now, go much higher into the sky, and then throw it out. Because maybe, through time, you'll hit a flag. Make sense? Does everybody understand that concept? Does time really bring things together? No, it doesn't make any sense. Does everybody see that? Okay. Use these examples, okay? I'm not even going to do the last one. I'm too tired. All right. This theological, yes. Go for it. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Science. That's a better example than confetti. Okay? Thank you. The distillological argument. I practiced this at home. Distillological, he said, there's a question in the back. He said in physics, there's a law that says entropy, okay? That through time, something will turn into randomness. And he gave an example of a piece of ice. You have a piece of ice. Through time, the ice will melt unless there are certain conditions around it, which again will require intelligence. And without that intelligence, that piece of ice will ultimately what? Melt into randomness. Everybody getting this? Does everyone feel like they're learning something here? Please. Okay. If God designed us, then why aren't we designed perfectly? Okay? This, I have to admit, on its face, it's a pretty good argument. It's a good argument. I mean, you call this God of yours perfect, so why didn't he make something perfect? Why aren't I perfect? Although my wife thinks I'm perfect. Okay, let's talk about the appendix. And this example was brought up. It's always used to be brought up. And it's interesting because back decades ago, the appendix was this useless piece of thing that hangs from your tummy. I don't know where it hangs. Okay? Someone save me here. Where's the appendix? Save my life. Huh? Right side, whatever. The appendix serves, by the way, science has established. And you know what? I don't care. I don't care about this argument. I'm going to make it. But I don't care about it. Okay? Because I don't need the appendix to function. Because in my Bible, there's talk about original sin, and there's talk about why we are going to suffer and have pain, and there will be evil in this world. Okay? I need the Bible to explain this answer. I do. Okay? And I see someone giving me a smirk in the back because he doesn't like what I said. Appendix serves an important role in the fetus in young adults. Okay? Endocrine cells appear in the appendix of the human fetus at around the 11th week of development, which produce various biogenic, compounds that assist with various biological control, homeostatic mechanisms. Okay? It has a purpose. Okay? It's got some function. It does. It works. Okay? But then the argument, by the way, guys, this argument can carry on forever. Okay? Well, then fine. My eyeball. It seems pretty good to me. I can see. I can always make the argument, well, why can't I see through that wall? Why can't I fly? Why can't I tell the future? Why can't I think what you're thinking? Why can't I see underneath your clothes? I don't want to do that. Why don't I? Okay, you can make this argument about anything, okay? But I like a couple of arguments that were made in defense of this. Number one, okay, yes, he's a perfect designer, okay? But even an engineer, when he makes this laptop, okay, this laptop has a purpose. Okay? You know what? This screen could be a heck of a lot bigger. And you know what? This keyboard could be a lot easier for my big, long, thumpy fingers to hit the keys. Okay? And this piece right here, I wish it was a little bit bigger. Why can't I watch something really, really big on this computer? Why can't I? Like, that's annoying. I want to be able to see a big picture, okay? If I had all those things, would this be a laptop? Okay. So sometimes you need to trade what? You need to trade some what? Some size, some functions for what? For the purpose of what it is. Does everybody see that? Does everybody understand that? Okay? And again, there is a biblical explanation for the fall of man. Okay? This is a foundation on which the Bible is really built. Okay? The fall of man in early Genesis caused us to suffer and to experience pain and to experience hunger and to experience thirst and to experience all the physical ailments that we endure. Okay? And we're not going to talk about the Bible. But there is a biblical explanation for this. Okay? Don't think that we're running to the Bible to explain this theory. This is in the Bible. It's in the beginning of the Bible. Okay? It's the reason why God came down to save us. Because of our original sin, which caused us to get into this state. So yes, my eye can't see through the wall. Okay? And yes, I get sick. But that doesn't mean necessarily that, oh, poor designer, then I guess there's no designer. Right? Okay. Keep going. Science will have answers to explain evolution. Okay? In time. I have a friend at work. Every time I talk to him about this stuff, he goes, yeah. In time, science is going to explain something. Yeah. 15 years from now, watch, you'll see. Yeah. 30 years, just wait and see. We're going to have like these machines that go back in time. Shut up, dude. Okay? No, we're not. And if we do, I'd like to take a ride. That'd be pretty cool. But let's talk about how science really has evolved. Because science actually has evolved to actually aim towards proof that God exists. What do I mean by that? Long time ago, we said this last week, the first universe was what? Eternal, right? And then what happened? Then they learned what? Then became natural selection was the explanation given, okay? But then science developed and we were able to study what? The cell. And we learned that there has to be a beginning. What else? Then came the study of DNA, which clearly shows requirements of intelligence. And let's see that now, okay? I'm going to skip this slide. We'll talk about the Stanley Miller experiment. Okay, I have good stuff on this. Okay, remind me if we have time at the end to talk about the Stanley Miller experiment, because I really want to talk about that, okay? DNA. Each of our bodies have 100 trillion cells. Each cell has 6 feet of DNA tightly coiled inside of our bodies. Each tightly coiled DNA provides the genetic information necessary to create all of the proteins out of which our bodies are built. You have DNA, has information inside of it that gives somewhere else to form proteins to build a cell. DNA has information that goes to create proteins in a certain way that is made together to build what? A cell. Everybody got that? Okay. This is how it looks. So if you open up somebody's cell, it looks something like this. 4 letters. A, T, G, and C is the alphabet of DNA. Our alphabet, when we share information with each other, every word I said out of my mouth today, I use 26 letters. The way the DNAs communicate is through 4 letters. It's an alphabet, if you will. This is how the body talks. The cells talk. Okay? This has been scientifically proven. Nobody can deny this. Okay? Now, okay, it's the alphabet. Okay? Now, the sequence of these letters make what we like to call words. So you have A, T, G, A, C, G, T, A, G, A, D, G. What? Okay? That's a word in DNA language. To us, it's DNA, it says make this protein. Everybody got that? Okay. You must have a specific sequence, and I'm only making jokes because I see people like falling off their chairs right now. Try to stay alive because DNA is really important. It's really good stuff. Okay? All right. Just so you guys know, I'm like standing in sweat right now, so just bear with me. Okay? All right. So transcription is what it's called. Now follow this through. This is like science class. Please pay attention. I want everybody to pay attention here. Okay? Everybody here who's a biologist, hello? Biologists, doctors, help me. Okay? Everybody else, just listen. Okay. A molecular machine unwinds a section of the DNA helix, that thing that I showed you, the helix, to expose the genetic instructions needed to assemble a specific protein molecule. Okay? So this machine like unwinds, letters come out to assemble a specific protein. How does it know what protein to assemble? Beats me. I just spit all over you. I'm sorry. Another machine then copies these instructions to form a molecule, sorry, I was doing good, known as messenger RNA, okay? So there's another machine now that comes, takes this information to form a molecule, okay, known as messenger RNA. Now, check this out. The messenger RNA acts like a tutu train and carries the genetic information out of the cell nucleus. So it's carrying the information. Everybody got this so far? This is science class. I don't know anything about this stuff. I'm learning this for the first time. Okay? Keep going. So then it goes to a 2-part molecular factory called a ribosome. No idea what a ribosome does. This is what it is. Okay? Keep going. Inside the ribosome, a molecular assembly line builds a specifically sequenced chain of amino acids. So now this language has a certain form, a certain A, G, T, A, C, G, A, whatever it is that's required to make that protein. How crazy is this so far? Crazy, yes? Okay. Amino acids are transported from other parts of the cell and then linked into chains often hundreds of units long. I don't know why I put that in there. Okay? Then, again, their sequential arrangement, what? Determines the type of what? Protein that's manufactured, okay? I'm kidding with you. I do know what this means. I actually do know what this means because I studied this stuff. Because I felt like look like an idiot if I got up here and started talking about DNA not knowing what I was talking about. So I spoke to doctors and I read books and I learned what has to go on and they dumbed it down for me and explained it like this so that I can explain it to you people. Okay? So there is sense in what I'm saying. Okay? And whoever's a doctor, you can back me up. What? Okay. All right. It's then gone into another machine, and it goes where it's needed to build itself. Everybody got it? Okay? Something unwinds, letters come out, takes a 2-2 train, goes to a different area, somehow it's assembled a certain way. It's assembled that certain way. Then it's taken where it needs to be, and it creates a protein. And this protein is what? A part of what? A cell. Right? Okay? All right. Now, if you're making a soup, okay, you can have all the ingredients you have, but you need the proper proportions. You need to know which items to add. You need to know in what order you need to put them in there. You need to know how long to cook. Does order matter? Can you cook something in the wrong order? Yes, you can. Oh, yes. I messed up many times. Ask my wife, okay? Do you need order, Miss Cook? What? It won't work. Exactly. Okay, can you give me an example?
It just means, like, it just shows.
Am I embarrassing you? I won't ask. Okay. She's giving me the look of death. Like, okay. You gotta know how long to cook, yes? You gotta know how long to cook it? Yes. Okay.
It really is, you know what I mean?
Okay. Even if you have all the right chemicals to create a living cell, you would also need information for how to arrange them in a very specific configuration. Have we learned this point? You need what? Information. Can this be done randomly? Can this be done through time? Is time going to make a difference? Is time going to make a difference? You need it in a specific order. Does everybody get that? Who provides this order? Who can provide this order? Who can provide this intelligence? This is science, guys. This ain't me. Okay? There is nothing that 100% contradicts this theory. Nothing 100% contradicts this theory. And if you find something, bring it to me. I would love to see it. And the fact of the matter is this. There is no science out there that can contradict intelligence. There are stuff out there that could say, hey, look, it could have happened this way. But there's no science that can say it could not be intelligence. Nothing out there. But there is science out there that could say it could not be evolution. Okay? Understand that concept, because it's true. Okay? Let's keep going. Okay. Again with the Stanley Miller stuff. Okay. Please remind me, you two especially, to talk about this. Okay? Because it's actually really interesting stuff, and I really want to get into this experiment that they tried to create a cell from nothing through, like, okay? Which, by the way, they use intelligence for that, to try to recreate. Okay. So, atheist position, random chance. Random chance. Randomly, the letters came together and they formed the right protein to form the right cell to form the... Can happen? Okay. If I'm playing Scrabble, and I take the Scrabble letters, and I go, whoosh, okay, what are the chances that I could write a sentence? Okay? What are the chances that I could write a book? What are the chances that I could write Encyclopedia Britannica by going like this, if I had enough Scrabble pieces for each letter of the alphabet? What are the chances? Okay? This is more complex than all of the Encyclopedia Britannica put together. In fact, if you take the letters from the Encyclopedia Britannica and you put it on a little spoon, you'll have more than half of the spoon left for more information that you want to share. Chance? Not a chance. Okay? Natural selection. Let's talk about natural selection real quick. Not to get too complicated because it's late, but I want to talk about this for a second. Natural selection says what? Slight, numerous, what? Slight, successive what? Modifications. Slight, successive what? Modifications. Okay, so you developed, and then you created what? A cell. What's the problem with that? By trying to say natural selection, you are presupposing the existence of information-rich DNA and proteins. In order to slightly modify, what do you need to begin with?
An organism.
What do you need to begin with? Something. A cell to slightly modify. But this is what we're trying to prove. How a cell came about. So how can you tell me a cell exists? It's like me, I'm stuck in a hole, and big hole, ditch, okay? So I need to get out of here. Okay, so I get out, I get a ladder, I bring it back downstairs, and now I climb up. That's how this theory would work. That doesn't make sense. You can't try to prove something by assuming what you're trying to prove. Everybody got it? Okay. Okay. How about self-ordering? A scientist came up the other day, a few years ago, and said, what about self-order? Look at tornadoes. Tornadoes, this is natural. Tornadoes just turn and turn, and there's order to it. It has order. It keeps turning and spinning. It developed by itself. Pretty good. That's a pretty good argument. Think about that for a second. It's going by itself. It doesn't need intelligence. It's going by itself. Well, if that was the case, then wouldn't we have something like AT, 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 AT? If there's chemical affiliation between each of those letters in the alphabet, see, with a tornado, it's the same thing over and over and over and over again. There's no intelligence behind it. It's repeated. But with DNA, it's actually language. It's sentences. It's different words. You need intelligence for that. Or else you would just be repeating yourself over and over and over and over and over again. Does everybody understand that? And that's not what happens. Everybody get that? Okay. Okay. Quickly now, there's like a few slides left. What time is it?
10.
All right. Give me 10 minutes. 5 minutes? Okay. Moral law argument. The moral law argument. The moral law argument has nothing to do with science. We're done with science. Thank God. Okay? Every law has a lawgiver. Everybody agree with that? There are laws out there. Every law has a... Okay. There is a moral law. There is a moral law. Okay? Therefore, there is a moral law what? Giver. Okay, let's talk about this. Okay? Every law has a lawgiver. Okay? You can't have legislation without a legislature. Okay? This is how laws are passed everywhere. Right? There are laws. Everybody abides by them. They feel bad when something happens. Oh my God, I broke the law. Okay? There's a law. Okay. Okay. If there are moral obligations, there must be someone to be obligated to. Are there moral obligations? Do we feel obligated in our lives? Think about that. Okay? Everybody here has a fundamental sense of right or wrong. Agreed? Everybody here can agree pretty much, for example, that love is superior to hate. Yes? Can anybody really say, I think hate is better than love? You can, but nobody would agree with you. In fact, there are probably here who do believe that. Okay? But no, love is what? Superior to hate, right? What else? Okay? Courage is better than cowardice. These are just fundamental rules. We weren't taught this. Okay? No one had to come to you and tell you, hey, listen, be courageous because courage is better than cowardice. Okay? If I'm a coward, I know and I feel like I'm a coward. And I don't want to be a coward. Daddy might come to me and be like, be a lion or something, whatever they used to say when you were little, okay? My dad might say, be a lion. I don't know why he wanted me to be a lion. Okay? Then I started like tearing up my younger brother. He's like, be a horse. All right?
He wasn't happy that he got a boy.
Okay.
He wanted a
Murder is never what? A virtue. Okay? Murder is never a virtue. No one says, oh, you murdered him? How'd you do it? Okay. No one does that, okay? Fundamental moral law, yes? Okay, okay. Imagine a society or a life where people were admired for running away in battle. Can you imagine, like, running away in battle and then everyone being like, yeah! That doesn't happen. Everyone's laughing because everybody understands and agrees that there is a moral law. Does everybody understand that? You were not taught this. There is a moral law. Okay, keep going. Okay. This moral law, guys, applies at all times to all people and in all places. It's not in America you should be courageous and in Afghanistan you should be a coward. Right? Okay. Next. Okay. Okay. Look at the third one. And we're almost done. We can't know what's right unless we know what? What's wrong. Agreed? Everybody getting in the right mindset? Okay. Let me talk about that for a second before we can go to the last area. Okay? Which is the consciousness argument. Okay? If there is a moral law, guys, and we all agree that there's a moral law, yes? Okay, everybody understands that there's a moral law, okay? Why is it so hard for us to understand the fact or to accept the fact that there is a moral law giver? Where did we get this understanding that everyone agrees on together? Where did that come from? Did it really develop through time? Can we really say that early on, hundreds and thousands of years ago, people killed each other and then they learned, oh, this is wrong, let's develop this, okay, morally speaking? Or is this something that is within us? Yes? Okay. If every law has a lawgiver, and we agree that there's moral law, then there must be a moral law giver. Who could that moral lawgiver be? Agreed? Last argument is the consciousness argument, and I could talk a lot more about each one and counter arguments and this and that. Maybe we'll continue that next time, but It's late. Okay, what is consciousness? Okay, consciousness, sensations, thoughts. This is important, and we're almost done, so stay with me, because I really don't want to come back next week. Sensations, thoughts, emotions, desires, beliefs, free choices that make us alive and aware. We're not just a body. So if science tells you, okay, science puts together a human being, okay, fine. Physically, matter, material, fine. But where does this come from? Can somebody tell me where this comes from? Sensations, thoughts, emotions, desires, crying, tears, happiness, excitement, thinking about thinking. I'm thinking and I'm thinking about thinking. Okay? Someone said the brain. That's good. Let's talk about the brain. Is the conscious a physical process of the brain? That's the question. Okay? Through experimental data, okay? This is complicated. Let me keep going. Okay? Okay. If you open up somebody's brain, and I'm going to make the point right away, okay? There's absolutely no scientific evidence that shows the brain and the mind are the same thing. In fact, there have been experiments that show a person's brain is telling them something, but their mind is actually telling them something different. The brain, physically, electrically, can react to something through experiment where the mind hasn't realized it yet. So you don't realize something happened, but your brain does. So are the brain, which is something that's material, and the mind, which is something that is not, the same thing? Think about it. Ask yourselves. Okay? A scientist can know about your brain by studying it, but he can't know about your mind without asking you to reveal it. I can study your brain chemically, but I can't study your what? Your mind. Where did my mind come from? We want to believe that the brain, when it's so complex, all of a sudden has a mind? Well, guess what? We can create robots that are way more complex than our brains and more powerful and stronger. Okay? But can we develop a mind on a robot? Can we do that? Can a robot have a mind? Can you hit a robot and he says, ow, and cries and has emotion? Can he do that? No. The brain and the mind are different. The brain is something material. The mind is not material. That's in the Bible, by the way. By the way, all of this is in the Bible. From before science came into the picture, from before anything came into the picture, this is all in the Bible. Okay? And to me, that says that there's some divine intelligence involved in the writers of the Bible. Because how the heck did they know this? Okay. You can't find someone's thoughts, feelings, desires, or beliefs in their brain. Can't do that. Okay? What about really intelligent computers? We just spoke about that. Okay? Computers have artificial intelligence. Okay? There is no such thing as, what is it like to be a computer? You build a computer, he could be my best friend. I could talk to him, he listens. He just sits there, he listens. Maybe I can decode it in a way, or code it in a way, to type what I'm saying, so I know he's listening. Great. Does he have an inside? Does he have an awareness? In other words, if I biff him over the head, he's going to be like, ow, and turn around? Does he have a point of view? Does he have insights into problems? Does he have the spirit that we have? Do they think? They think what we program them to think, which is actually very interesting, because I'm intelligent, and I will design it to think what I want it to think. But God to us, no, I don't want to believe that. No. All this evidence, and I don't want to believe that. In conclusion, and I want to end it like this. If you look at the anthropic principles and constants, you know, how the world is formed in a way for us to live here. If you look at the irreducible complexity, if you look at DNA, if you look at the arguments for intelligent design, if you look at the conscience and the difference between a brain and a mind, and you look at the moral law, if you look at all of this evidence together, and you still are telling yourself, no, there has to be evolution as a reason, then you're that juror who, no matter what anyone tells them, doesn't want to believe in God. But if you use common sense and logic and reasoning, and you take all of these things together, are there other theories that come close? Honestly, no. Are there other theories out there? Yes. So I want you guys to keep an open mind when evaluating this stuff and use this evidence because, guys, let me tell you something right now. I'll email this to whoever wants it, okay? Take it and read it and study it, not only for yourself, but when you talk to other people, you want to be able to have an intelligent conversation. I'm sick and tired of our people not knowing stuff and saying, oh, this is all based on faith. Our religion is not a blind faith. There is evidence to support it. And if it's not convincing to some people, that's fine. If they don't see it that way, fine. Is what I'm saying, does it contradict intelligence? Or is it for evident intelligence? It's for it. If you want to look at something else and have that your way to go, then fine. But hey, that's on you. Because at the end of the day, there's another argument called the what if you're wrong argument. And if you're wrong, then I'm going to heaven and you're not. And by the way, if I live according to what the Bible teaches me to live, I'm going to be happy and joyful because it works. Because the teachings in the Bible, by the way, and our life experiences, guys, and if we're really living according to the Bible, then we don't need to bring science. I could be like, you could talk about science till tomorrow. It's working for me. And it's working for him, her, and it worked for all those people in the past who are living happy, who don't hurt people, who are joyful from inside, who even though they might be upset, they still have joy. Where is this joy coming from? Because God intelligently designed me to function at my best function when what? When I'm with him. That beats any scientific argument out of the water. So let us live like that, guys. Let us be an example through our ways, not through this. You don't need this. This is to show people, hey, I know what I'm talking about too. So don't mess with me. Glory be to God forever.